Summer physics. We're moving on to day 3 lesson, which is on speed and velocity. So what is speed? Speed is the distance you go in a certain amount of time. So the formula for average speed or velocity of an object is average speed equals distance divided by time, which is d over t. So we abbreviate distance with a lowercase d and time with a lowercase t. Now in this lesson we're going to make a distinction between speed and velocity for most of the lesson here. So this is actually the formula for average speed. D is the abbreviation for distance, T is the abbreviation for time. What are the units of measure for speed? So the units of measure for speed can be any measure of distance divided by any measure of time. For example, the most common one we will use in class is meters, which is a measure of distance, over seconds, which is a measure of time. This is the most common UOM that we will use for speed, but others could be miles per hour. That's one you hear all the time. It could be yards per minute. It could be centimeters per day. It could be feet per year. As long as the unit on top is a unit of distance, how far something is, and the unit on the bottom is a unit of time, how long something takes. So speed is the distance you go in a certain unit of time. So if Manuel runs 50 meters in 10 seconds, what is his average speed? So the change in distance is 50 meters. Change in time is 10 seconds. So the average speed is going to be 50 meters divided by 10 seconds equals 5 meters per second. So that would be the average speed. Now that doesn't mean that Manuel was running 5 meters per second for the entire 10 seconds. He could have been running 10 meters per second for part of the time and 0 meters per second or 1 meter per second for part of the time, and it averages out. As long as it took him 10 seconds to go 50 meters, that means his average speed is 5 meters per second, but he could have sped up or slowed down during that run. Now, if Manuel walks 30 meters in 30 seconds, then runs 50 meters in 10 seconds, what is his average speed? So in this case, you add the distances. 30 meters plus 50 meters is 80 meters. You add the times. 30 seconds plus 10 seconds is 40 seconds. And now you do the same type of division that you did before. So it's going to come out to be 80 meters divided by 40 seconds equals 2 meters per second. But as you can see, part of the time he was running faster than 2 meters per second, and part of the time he was maybe running slower than 2 meters per second. What is the difference between speed and velocity? So in everyday language, we often use the two terms as though they're the same thing. Speed and velocity are how fast something's going. But there's a technical difference in physics. So speed is the distance you go in a certain amount of time. Speed does not care about direction. So you could be going around and around in a circle and going a certain speed. So this runner is going 8 meters per second to the south. This runner is going 8 meters per second to the north. So they're both going 8 meters per second, but they're going in different directions. So the question is, are they going the same speed? Think about that. Are they going the same speed? The answer is yes. Both are going 8 meters per second. With speed, direction does not matter. So what is the difference between speed and velocity? Velocity is the distance you go in a certain amount of time and in a particular direction. So velocity does care about direction. So this runner is going 8 meters per second to the south. This runner is going 8 meters per second to the north. Question, are they going the same velocity? And the answer to that is no. Both are going in different directions. With velocity, direction does matter. What is average velocity? Average velocity is the change in position over the change in time. Change in position, delta x, is the straight line distance between where you started and where you ended. Delta x is pronounced delta x. The Greek letter delta means change in when used in math and science. So example, the difference between speed and velocity. So Luis walks from point A to point B, so look at the diagram down below. He goes from A to B and then from B to C and stops at point C. So the path is shown by the green arrows. And it takes him 50 seconds to do that. The distances are shown on the diagram below. So what is his total distance? Well, he walked 100 meters from A to B and then 100 meters from B to C, so the total distance he walked was 200 meters. So what is his speed? Speed is distance divided by time, so that's 200 meters divided by 50 seconds is 4 meters per second. Now what is his change in position? And that's the yellow dashed line. His change in position is 150 meters. So what is his velocity? Velocity is change in position divided by time. So in this case, it's 150 divided by 50 seconds. That's 3 meters per second. So you can see that Luis has a different speed than his velocity. They're different numbers. And that's because distance is, you use the actual distance that you traveled, how far he actually walked, and for speed. And for velocity, you use how far did he end up from where he started. He ended up at point C, he started at point A. That's a change in position of 150 meters. So what is velocity? Velocity is the distance you go in a certain unit of time and in a particular direction. Velocity cares about direction. Velocity can be changed by making an object speed up or slow down, but it can also be changed by changing the direction of the object. Even if it's going the same speed, if you change the direction, you've changed the velocity. So this point here is key, and the change in velocity has a name called acceleration, and we'll deal with that in a future lesson. So what is the formula for velocity? So often we don't distinguish between speed and velocity. So velocity equals distance over time, which equals change in position over time. In other words, after just teaching you that there's a difference, for the rest of this class, we're generally going to treat them the same. So velocity will either be distance over time or change in position over time. And they are the same if somebody walks or moves or runs in a straight line. Then the distance and the change in position will be exactly the same, and so velocity and speed will be the same. So for the rest of this course, we'll deal with the concept of velocity and really not talk very much at all about speed. And that takes care of this lesson on speed and velocity.